shantarama. Ora mama mama siara baba. Oro bobo shikantorobo. Iria mama mama. Andiria. Endelebe. Ikuria mama. Ora mama mama santaya. Leslie mama sika mama. Ora mama mama. Among the gods, who is like thee? You are glorious in holiness and fearful in praising, doing wonders. Hallelujah. Among the gods, who is like thee? You are glorious in holiness and fearful in praises, doing wonders. Hallelujah. Doing wonders. Hallelujah. Doing wonders. Doing wonders. Hallelujah.
Praise the Lord. Shall we please take our seats? Indeed, our Lord God is doing wonders. Wow. I love the empty chairs. I don't know sometimes why I love the empty chairs like that. I don't know how many of you sometimes you love the empty chairs like me. Show me my hand if you love the empty chairs like I do. But sometimes I love the empty chairs. Praise God. They got a message. Okay, we are in the month of October. And it is Breast Awareness Month. I don't know whether I've communicated that well. Is it Breast Awareness or Breast Month? Breast Cancer Awareness. Okay. I didn't want to add the cancer to it, but that's what it is. So our medical team have a package for us. And we as a ministry, you know that we do not only look at one stand as far as ministry is concerned. We believe in total holistic ministry. So this evening, the medical team will be talking to us about what we need to know in the season. I've done my breast examination in my office. I insisted when I saw Auntie Evelyn that I need to examine my breast. Because for me, once there is knowledge and there is information, I want to practicalize it. I'm not a theorist. So we stood, she showed me how to go about it. As you imagine, I'm standing in front of the mirror, and we did all the thing we did. And fortunately, eventually, by the time I've done my own self-examination, I knew I was free and I was fine. She also confirmed it, that I was fine and I was free. And I want everybody to get the knowledge and make sure we are dealing with ourselves. So they will come and they share with us. There'll be questions and answers. Last year we did the same thing. But there's nothing wrong going back to the knowledge you've had. Because sometimes, because we don't practice, we may forget. And when you get double knowledge, it's better. Because then becomes your reality, becomes your experience, and you can go anywhere with it, and nobody can take that knowledge from you. So with a clap of friend, let's receive the medical team, and let's receive Auntie Esther first, so that she will tell us the way forward. Oh, let's do it better. Let's do it better. So please make sure. And please, those of you who are managing the mics, make sure her mic is as solid as mine, so that we all hear her. Thank you very much, Auntie Esther.
Hallelujah. Shalom. It's been a while. Yeah, October is a month for many health things. October is a month of breast cancer awareness, And tomorrow actually is the World Sight Day. So the eye is also, awareness is created in the month of October, plus some other health issues. But we'll deal with the breast and the eyes. And diabetes or something, we'll deal with that. But today we'll talk about the breast. It's been done before, so it will be like a revision, a refresher kind of thing. So she would also practicalize it, show us how to self-examine. Because from last year till now, a lot might have gone on in your breast or in your body as a person. And so that will be done. And then, God willing, Sunday we'll deal with the eyes. Sunday as well, we'll do fasting blood sugar. It's on the rise in the hospitals, and the data now, the BP and the fasting blood diabetes things young people are getting because of the way they eat, what they eat, and the lifestyles. So we'll do that as well on Sunday morning. And so, but what we need to remember is that if you want to do the fasting blood sugar, that means the last time you eat a heavy meal or a meal should be Saturday evening by 6 p.m. So after 6 p.m. Saturday, don't eat anything. Sunday morning, you don't eat anything. No tea, no juice, no fruit. Then you come. After taking the sample, then you can eat, or you can carry your small snack along and then you eat after the sample. So basically that is what we're going to do for the health screening this time. So Evelyn will start it and then see how it ends.
Thank you very much, Auntie Esther. Mega Shalom. Oh, are we happy to be in the presence of God? Mega Shalom. It's been a while too, and I'm so happy to be here. This month, I think from last month, the ending part of last month, we've been going around and I always use the word harvesting blood for people who are coming to our various emergencies. We are getting quite a number of road traffic accidents and maternal bleeding conditions in our facility. So we have to go out and get blood so that we can save lives. So I pray that we'll be in good health so that we will not be in that position where we need blood, because right now people are a bit adamant in donating. People are attaching spiritual reasons and other things. But when they come to the hospital and they are in need, they don't remember they also denied somebody. So if you don't donate, how can we save you? So I would encourage each and every one of us to be a voluntary donor. And it has a lot of advantages. Not only are you saving a life, but you are also saving yourself. Because one thing about being a voluntary donor is, let me just digress a little bit. We screen the blood you give us. So if there are anything, we'll be able to communicate with you. And then the follow-up care. So we'll help you to get the right care. If there's any infection or anything, then we can help you treat it. You didn't come and pay us for that, but we are doing it for you anyway. So that's one of the benefits you can get from it, okay? And one thing about the body is a giver. The more you give, the more it also gives you. So if you give, some of us, we wear our clothes till they are torn and ragged before we want to give it out. But one thing about the blood, let it teach us something today. The more you're a voluntary donor and you give blood to save people, the more the body produces fresh ones for you. So you always be looking fresh. And somebody will ask you, what is your secret? You're a voluntary donor. The more you donate, the body will be producing new and fresh blood that the body would use. So let's give so that the body will also give us more, or God will also give us more. Amen. So today we are going to talk about, we all know, just like Auntie Esther said, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Not just that, but other medical conditions as well. The purpose is to bring awareness and to shed more light into certain conditions like the breast cancer. I've been here, I've talked about breast cancer. We've even brought somebody who is a breast cancer survivor. She said a lot. She's shown us a lot. So I think we know. But at times, one thing I've realized, especially with my clients when they come to the consulting room, sometimes I take time for 1 whole hour. I'll be educating them on their condition. And the next time they come, the question they ask me, I go back and ask myself, so this 1 hour, shit. You have to start all over again. So I realized that with time, we forget. Sometimes you don't forget the whole thing. And sometimes too, you feel you know. But when we open the book, you don't know, you've forgotten. So it's important that we refresh our memories on breast cancer. Like I always say, sometimes the education is not for you, but it's for somebody. It could be for a friend, it could be for a neighbor. So let's learn. Okay, so October is breast cancer awareness. Now, so I would interact with you more. It wouldn't be a lecture where I'll be talking too much because we know something. So I would like to interact. We all know what we call the breast. I'm sure everybody knows what the breast is. Whether male or female, we know the breast. What do you think is the function of the breast? Anybody? The function. Why did God create the breast in the first place? Good evening. The function of the breast.
To produce milk.
To produce milk. Hey, cowbell coffee or which milk? Which milk are we talking about?
Breast milk.
Breast milk. Okay, thank you. Any other person?
For physiological aesthetics, which we call beauty.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pastor. Very, very important. A symbol of femininity. When we're in our teenage years, when our breasts are not growing, we get very worried. The young ladies, we get very worried. There's one young lady in my clinic, she's a sickle cell patient, and because of their condition, there's delayed growth. So you realize that even in their sexual secondary characteristics delay sometimes. So I remember one of the days the mother was telling me that, hey, my daughter has always been complaining. She's not seeing her figure very well. I told her she shouldn't worry. So now we put her on medication, hydroxyurea. She's doing very well. One day her mother rushed to me in the consulting room. Hey, right now, when my daughter is happy, she said her breast is coming. I said, yes. So yes, a symbol of femininity, very, very important. Because you need, sometimes you take certain things for granted. And that is where the confidence of women develop. Let's not take these things for granted. When it's not developing and they are worried, don't say that, oh, Jai. Don't try to shut them down. So as typical African parents, Jai, Sai, and Kasasa, don't say that. No, when they are worried, if there's something you have to explain to them, please do. If it's encouragement, encourage them. Because one negative comment from a colleague in school can shatter a girl's self-esteem, and that is very dangerous. When a woman or a young girl's self-esteem is destroyed, it is very dangerous because she loses her value. She loses her value. She loses her worth. And so anybody goes. But then when they know who they are and they appreciate what they have and they understand what they carry, they are able to make very tough decisions, and nothing really weighs them down. So in that developmental stage is very important. Thank you very much, Pastor. Any other reason? This one day, I want the answer from a male, not a woman. Male. Pastor again. No, Pastor, this one I'll give you. Pastor Nitaki, you take this one.
I would say a breast is a multifaceted organ
Thank you.
that plays different roles. It produces milk that is used to breastfeed, and then it is used for pleasure for the rightful owners.
Thank you. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Yes. For that pleasure, yes, it plays a key role in that. I know some men, before they select the woman they want to settle with, they are looking for certain key characteristics, and the breast plays a role. So that is also another function. Now, the breast is in segments, okay? The breast is in segments. We all see, let's have a picture of a young teenage girl. You realize that usually the breast is quite round. But for us, we say the breast has a tail. The tail part of the breast extends into the armpit. So you have the round aspect, and then we have the extension into the armpit. It is very important to know the full shape so that when you're examining, you know that you cover all surfaces. And with that tail that extends into our armpit is what we medically we call the axillary tail of Spence, or tail of Spence. Axilla, because we medicine, we call the armpit the axilla. And it is in the form of a tail because it extends here. So it becomes like a tail. So axillary tail of Spence. That is it. And then we divide the breast into 4 segments. We have this part, which is the upper outer quadrant. We have the upper inner. We have the upper inner. We have the lower outer, and then the lower inner. So these are just the 4 areas of the breast. So now let's move to breast cancer. Now, when we say cancer, what do we mean? What is cancer? When we say cancer, what do we mean by that? Oh, nobody knows cancer. We've talked about it multiple times, so. Anybody? What is cancer? Yourself.
A cancer is a cell that divides uncontrollably, and it destroys body tissues.
Okay, exactly. So I always try to simplify the education so that even a child will understand. Okay, so we are all moving in one direction like this. All of us, one logo line, and we are all moving. That's how the body works. The body is structured in such a way that it follows instructions. And it follows it, no deviation. So we are all following a line. Our target is to go to the gate and walk back. Our lifetime, that is our job, is to walk to the gates, come back, walk to the gates, and come back. That is our job throughout the entire life. Then one person decides to step out and walk in circles. That is cancer. Just one. So I always say that in life, there is a very thin line between being healthy. There's a very thin line between being healthy and not being healthy. One cell, even that cell you can't see with your naked eye, unless you look at it under a microscope. Just that one who decides to step out of the line can be your end. And that is the beginning of cancer. Fortunately for us, God knew that a time will come, something will be called cancer. So he decided to put certain things there so that if you move out, it will whip you back into line. But sometimes that thing that will whip you back into line is also malfunctioning. So it can't whip you to get in line. Then you move. Then you become cancerous. Basically, that is what cancer is. So in other words, if not for the grace of God, any of us can get it. The question is, what will make that one cell move out of the line and misbehave and be going in circles instead of walking to the gate? It could be what we eat. It could be something you drank. It could be a gene you picked from your parents. It could be anything. Anything, maybe canned food, something carcinogenic, anything that can trigger one person. So like, still with the same analogy, we are walking in a line. And then Auntie Esther whispers something to me, and I walk out of the line. Whatever she whispered to me influenced me to walk out of the line. And that is what we call the carcinogenic substance. It could be, like I said, refined foods and the processed oils and things that we take. That could be that influence. Please, I want to simplify it for everybody to understand. So it can be anything. The other time, I think we were talking canola oil and all those processed oils. And we say they have carcinogenic substances. It only means that it has something in there that can influence one person to behave abnormally and to start a process of cancer. If the internal process to whip you in line is not very effective, then what if free and misbehave? And that is the beginning of doom. So that is basically what cancer is. Now, we bring it to breast cancer. It is the same abnormality here. So wherever it is located, you attach it and then you say that is cancer. So that abnormality in the breast is the breast cancer. So you have the breast performing its function. Then all of a sudden, we'll find one cell in there deciding to move away from the normalcy of its activities. And then we have breast cancer. So we should always keep in mind that there is always a thin line between being in a perfect, healthy state and then being in a disease state. Okay. So we'll continue. So breast cancer occurs when cells in the breast grow at an uncontrollable and accelerated rate. This can be due to mutation or changes in the genes that control the growth of the breast. And that was what I was saying. When we say mutation, that thing that causes it to behave abnormally from its normal physiological activities. And the breast cancer can spread to other regions of the body through the blood or the lymph. So, yes, we are saying it is the breast. But then it has the potential to spread to other areas. Somebody will ask, how will it walk and move from here and then redirect itself to this place? The blood. You know, the blood is constantly moving. Okay? So when you have a piece of this cancer cells seeping into the blood or in the lymph, then it will circulate and go and lodge somewhere. So it's like a traveler. You keep walking and walking and walking, then you get to a point and say, I'm tired. I'll settle over here. This is my new home. Then it will begin to grow, multiply, and then start damaging all the tissues and the cells there. Then when it becomes so populated, then another piece will also detach into the blood and travel to another place and say, this place is like milk and honey. Let me also settle here. And it's also, so that is how it is able to spread. Even though it is breast cancer, it can spread to other areas in the body. Now, we are looking at certain facts. Now, over 4,000 women in Ghana are diagnosed with breast cancer annually. So every year, so let's say 2025, by the close of 2025, an estimated 4,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer. Half of these women die from the disease. And why would they die from the disease? Because they lack early detection. We are not able to pick it up early enough. So by the time, a lot of people, by the time they identify, or not even identify, they know. That's why people, we know, but we will not go. We always have its equivalent in herbal medicine. So we'll first of all deal with that. And then when it escalates, when it gets worse, that's when we come to the hospital. But by then, too much harm has already been caused. So women in Ghana are diagnosed at advanced stages, like I'm saying, and 28 to 38% of breast cancer mortalities could be prevented through early diagnosis and adequate treatment. So what are some of the risk factors that can lead to breast cancer? Anybody? We've discussed this before. What are some of these? It doesn't have a cause. We are saying that something will trigger it to behave abnormally. So it doesn't have a particular cause. But then it has risk factors. So the risk factors are, what are some of the things that will influence it to behave, the cells to behave abnormally? Like I was using Auntie Esther as an example. She whispered something to me, and then I moved out of the line and then started doing my own thing. Okay, so what are some of the things you think can whisper to the normal cells for them to start misbehaving? That's what we mean by risk factors. Anyone? Anybody? Oh. Pastor.
A risk factor can be genetic issues. What it means is that if it runs through a family line, mother, grandmother, or auntie, and something that is prevalent, is a risk factor. Then also food. Some foods can also become a risk factor. In meats, processed meats, canned foods, and other oils that are carcinogenic or carcinogenic, they can also become risk factors to it.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
Smoking is another factor.
Excellent. Smoking, very important. Any other person? Please, it's not for just women, no.
Please,
Men are also part of.
what type of smoking? Is it firewood smoke? Because firewood smoke is also a smoke.
Oh, I thought you clarified. Pastor said firewood smoke.
Smoking cigarettes
Okay, cigarette smoking.
and drinking a lot of alcohol.
Alcohol. Okay. Thank you. Any other person? Thank you so much. Okay, so let's quickly do this. So, for risk factors, Pastor mentioned the family history and genetics. So, if there is anybody in your family, usually first generation, so a mother died from breast cancer, there is a probability, a high probability, that the daughter or even the son can also suffer from breast cancer related problems. And this is because, like I said, they are genetically linked. Okay? So what makes you you is because you are carrying a piece of your mother and a piece of your father. And these are genetic things. You can't do anything about it. So if any of them suffered from breast cancer, there is a possibility that you could also suffer from the condition because you picked it from them. Yes. So when we look at the genetics as well, we call something BRCA. People say BRCA or BRCA1, BRCA2. Now the BRCA1, BRCA2 basically means, I remember I was saying that when one cell begins to misbehave, you have the body has put together certain soldiers to whip you back into line. That is the BRCA1, BRCA2. So there are some proteins that the body produces to guard the cells to behave. So that's like there are soldiers who are carrying whips, waiting for any of them to misbehave and whip them back in line. But there are times when these ones are incapacitated, and that means that you could have picked it from your mother or your father. So you could have picked an incapacitated BRCA1 or BRCA2. So when the cells misbehave, instead of it to whip it in line for it to do its work, it's not able to do that, giving space for that abnormal cell that has detached from the others to start producing and multiplying. And that is where we say the person is developing cancer. Please, do we understand? Yes. So another risk factor is hormonal factors. Okay, we know that the breast is controlled by hormones. I think the women we know, because during your time of ovulation and time of your menses, the breast feels different. Certain times it feels heavy, certain times it feels light, certain times it's very sensitive and all that. So it is the hormonal changes in our cycle that also affects the breast. So if you have hormonal imbalances, they can also affect how the breast responds. So that is another. So women who are on long-term contraceptives, like estrogen and progesterone, oral contraceptives, because they alter the hormonal levels in the blood, they have the potential of influencing the cells to misbehave, and that will lead to cancer. Now, age. Before, age was a big deal. We used to see cancer, breast cancer, among people 40 years and above. But now, that is not the case anymore. Like Auntie Esther is saying, now a lot of young people like us are being affected by some of these conditions. So the age factor is now being scrapped. Now it looks like, as for the race, everybody wants to be a part. We are fighting, the young and the old are all fighting over diseases. Basically it. So it's not a factor anymore, but it used to be common among those who are 40 years and above. But now we are having people who are 30, even in their 20s, who are identifying breast cancer symptoms or lumps. Then we look at personal history of breast cancer. So if you have ever been affected with breast cancer, there is a great probability the other breast might also be affected. Why? Because I said you might have picked up the abnormal BRCA1 or 2. If it was not able to whip the right breast in line, what makes you think it can whip the left breast in line? So if this had a problem and probably the mastectomy was done, they removed the breast, if you are not careful, this one can also develop cancer because what is supposed to whip it in line is defective, so it can also occur. So if you have a history of breast cancer in one of the breasts, there's a high probability it can occur in the other breast. So you need to constantly monitor for any abnormalities or changes. Then we look at the lifestyle, and this includes the alcohol consumption and smoking. Then we look at environmental factors such as radiations and exposure to radiations. We need to look into that. For some of the health workers, like the radiologists, they are constantly exposed to these heavy radiations. So we usually have protective gears that you are supposed to wear, but sometimes you do not comply. So such people would be very prone to it. And I remember I went to Kumasi during my training as a nurse specialist in hematology, and then we had the opportunity to work at the palliative care departments where they give care to people in their later years of life because they are suffering from terminal diseases that would only lead them to a peaceful death. And there was one thing I observed. A lot of women came with cancer. Okay, there are a lot of women had cancers. And I realized one common thing. We kept asking, where do you work? oh, I sell phones. I sell phones here. And I realized that most of them were on a particular lane. I didn't know Kumasi very well, so I kept asking, where is this area? Then they tell me, oh, there's a radio station. They are just beside the radio station where the high tension was. Then I said, okay. Then we find another person. Where do you work? Oh, I also sell. And I asked, where? Then they give the same location. I realized that before I left, there were 5 people who were all working around the same area, and they came with cancers. The question was why? Because of the radiation. Those who sell under high tension lines, some of us, our homes, the high tension can see a fear, because MTN will give you small, Vodafone will give you small, but it has implications. The quantum of radiations that go through these masts, you have no idea. You will be recording cancer cases in your home, and you will think, Obi na ayo. But you have spent the money. And those are the repercussions. So some of these things, we take them for granted. Some of them, radio station lines, telecommunication lines. Let's be very careful, because they emit very, very high radiations. So before you sell somewhere, let's not be carried away by the small money they'll give you just to build a mast. It can cost your life. So let's be very careful with that. Obesity and overweight. When you are obese, you are more likely to have breast cancer. Being that, you see, obesity leads to a lot of conditions, because the body is such that the cells usually have receptors at their ends. And the reason they have these receptors is they are waiting for something to bind to it, and then they respond. Now, when all these cells are covered with fats, what happens is they are not able to receive these binding proteins. So you realize that they are not able to effectively perform their duties. And then cancer is one of the things that can happen. So another factor is becoming pregnant at an older age or never being pregnant. This one too is also facing off, because we know mothers, if you remember our sister who came here some time ago, who has children. I know a colleague, my colleague, we sat in the same class. She has 5 children, and she's a breast cancer survivor. 5 children. So before, what was is not what it is now. Our sister who came to speak about her testimony, she also had, I think, 4 children, but she also suffered. And she breastfed all her children. So that notion that when you don't have children and you haven't breastfed or you get pregnant after, all those notions, that means it can affect anybody. And so you don't blame anybody who has breast cancer and think that it's because you did something wrong that brought this upon you. We are very fond of doing that. It's because you did this or you didn't do that. It can affect anybody. Okay. And then people who have very dense breasts. When you have very dense breasts, it makes it quite very difficult for you to even palpate to identify any abnormalities. So if there is anything going on, you might not really get it properly done to identify if there is a lump. Because sometimes it's just a lump, a harmless lump or a cyst, which can easily be taken off. But when you leave it there, it gives room for abnormalities to develop, and then it can develop into a cancer. So that is also another. Okay, so we look at some of the signs and symptoms. So one thing is to look at the texture. You have to look at the texture. We all know how your breast looks like. So if you look at your breast in the mirror and then you realize that the texture has changed, one texture has changed, you should be able to identify it and know that, no, I need to examine and look for help. A visible lump. The lump can either be visible or can be felt. And that is where sometimes the men come into to help, okay? Sometimes a woman might not take certain things seriously, but because of the function of the breast, where the sexuality aspect comes in, a man can even identify and say, there's something I feel which is abnormal. What is it? I haven't felt this before. And that can be an eye-opener, okay? I remember somebody confided in me, his wife passed from breast cancer, and according to him, the abnormality was there, but he didn't know. Until one time, he had an interaction with his wife, and then he felt something hard over there and said, what is this? What is this? And then she said, oh, it's been there for some time. I don't even know what it is. And then he said, no, I think we should go and check it up. But by the time they went, it was too late. Eventually, it got worse, and then she passed. In this case, if the man had identified it early, he probably would have pushed the woman to go to the hospital, because obviously she was experiencing it, but women, oh, it's nothing, it will go. But when you have your spouse also identifying it and then encouraging you to seek help, sometimes it pushes us to do the right thing, okay? But also, in case, as a man, if you also don't know and you also think it's normal, then you also be sitting there and the worst will happen. And then we also look at lymph discharge or discharge from the nipple. So if you realize that there's some discharge coming out from the breast, you quickly need to look in. You know you are not breastfeeding. You don't have discharge coming out from your breast. Suddenly you are seeing some discharge. It's a cause for concern. You need to go for checkup. When you have a lump in your armpits, you remember I said we have something called a tail, which is the axillary tail of Spence that extends to the armpit. So if you're examining and you don't start from there, you only focus on the round area of the breast, leaving the armpits, and then a lot of times it actually starts from there, and then it moves downwards. So if you don't start from there, by the time it gets here, it has already advanced, and there's very little that can be done. Okay. So again, we look at the discharge. Once again, if it is bloody, you have to look into it. And then the nipple inversion. So you know your breast, you know how the nipple is. For some reason, you realize that it is gone in or it is inverted. That is a cause. It might look normal to you or say, oh, it's nothing. Please don't say it's nothing. That is not normal with you. So please, you have to go for care. And then dimpled skin. We all know how oranges look like. It has some dimples, okay, on it. So if you see that kind of dimple is around any area of the breast, please do not take it for granted. If you see any color changes, suddenly you see that a portion of the breast has become very darkened, please don't take it for granted. The next images that are going to come are very disturbing. So viewers' discretion advised. So please, it's quite disturbing, but it's showing us the various areas where it can start from. You realize that some people is starting from the outer area. For others, even at the nipple, it's starting from the nipple area. So that's why when you are doing the examination, you don't focus on certain areas and leave certain areas because it can affect any part. Okay. Please, the next slide. Oh, please go back. Okay, so if you look at it, so you see like, it's like that dimple. You see some oranges or some fruits, you realize that it looks like that. So that's the dimple we are talking about. Looking like an orange. But you see, if you compare it to the other one, that's not normally how it looks like. So if you see something like that, please don't take it for granted. Quickly move to the health facility. Next slide, please. Sorry, very disturbing images. So this is also another one, also dimpled, but worse than the previous one. So if the person did not attend and still said, oh, it's nothing, it's just swollen, it will progress into this form. Please, the next slide. So you see that this one, if you look at it, so you see it is coming it is actually coming from the axillary tail of Spence, yes. So you realize that this is coming. You see the discoloration. So this is the aspect of the discoloration. It is peeling. Please, don't say, oh, anansi, ebe why, ebe ko. Please, no. You have to go and check it out. So this is clear discoloration. And you see the inverted nipple. I hope you see that. The nipple is inverted. Yes, it's really gone in. So that's the inverted nipple. So this is it. Okay. Please, the next slide. Okay. So you see that if you look at this part, it's actually starting from the nipple area. Okay. So this is also another. Possibly there was discharge and they decided not to do anything about it. This is one. And then this one, by this time, it's spread all over. And then, so you see all the tissues you are seeing at the top, that is cancer. So that's what you are seeing is the cancer. So you see they are developing abnormally like cauliflower. They are just producing and they are just developing and moving. So that is typically how cancer looks like. Okay, tissue cancers or solid cancer. That's typically how it looks like. Please, next slide. And it can have very bad odor. Okay, so this is also another one. Very bad state. And for some people, the whole breast becomes even sore. And not just, even if it's just sore, it's not even, it will even manage. But the discharge that would be coming and the smell or the odor that attaches is not easy. It's not easy. So whoever will be caring for such a person would also be going through it. So if it is your spouse who is there, he's also going through it. So it's not an easy thing. So early detection, like we say, is very important. Next slide, please. I think we are done. Okay, so treatment. Let's quickly look at the treatment. So how does it get treated? So cancer, a lot of times, you know, when it's just a lump, I said that sometimes it can just start as a lump. When you go to the hospital, quickly they have to identify, they have to run some labs to see whether it has spread out of its confines or it is only limited to what you felt. So if it's just limited, then they'll do a surgery and remove the lump. So they'll cut off the areas where the lump is and remove all that from there. So that is one method, and that is what we call the lumpectomy, the removal of the lump. Then we have the mastectomy. So that's the removal of the entire breast. So they have to remove the entire breast so that it doesn't spread. Or when there's a larger portion of the breast that has been affected, they have to remove it. But with that, they have to make sure that it has not spread to other areas. Now, sometimes people go like, okay, so when I went to the hospital, the cancer hadn't spread over the entire breast. Why didn't they cut it? And then they left it, and then it's spread now, and now the whole place is affected. Sometimes the reason they will not take it out is when they do the investigations and they realize that it has already internally spread. Remember, it can spread into the lungs. It will spread into the liver. And even to your bones, it does. Because your ribs, yes, it spread, and it can even spread to your brain. So if they run the test and realize that it has spread to all the organs, which one are we removing? Are we removing your lungs, or we are removing your liver, or we are removing your brain? So at that point, it might look small, or you think that, oh, it is only confined, but no, internally it has spread to certain organs that what we can do is only to give medications to suppress its action. But going to cut off the breast at this point will not solve the problem. Because I've had people coming to me to say that, and the health people didn't take good care of my wife because they consider that it was only a small area and they didn't cut the breast. But then it might have internally spread already. So at that point, cutting of the breast is not the solution. Okay. All right. Then we have the radiotherapy. So we also have some radiations. So also high-powered radiations, okay? Now these high-powered radiations, they target it on the cancer cells, and then they fire the radiation. Then it has the capacity to burn the cancer cells. Now one thing is that not only will it burn the cancer cells, your normal cells would equally burn in the process. But then God is good in such a way that our normal cells easily produce themselves. So even if it bends, it will rejuvenate, or it will multiply, and then it will be restored. So some people will go through the radiotherapy and then you realize they lose their hair and other things, but then there's not much to worry about because it can regenerate. And it's the same thing with chemotherapy, where we use medication, strong chemotherapy drugs. We set it up, we give you. Some of them are oral, some of them are IV. We give them to you. And then it puts a huge toll on the body. Not only does it destroy cancer cells, it also destroys the normal cells. But fortunately, it only destroys fast-growing cells, because the cancer is a fast-growing cell. So it was designed to destroy all fast-growing cells. So in that process, the cancer cells are included. Your hair is a fast-growing area. Your nails, your skin, you see the person becomes darkened. Sometimes mucositis, they'll have sores in their mouth because the GI, fast-growing cells. But then you would recover after the treatment. Then we have immunotherapy. So we also have another type of therapy where they give medications that target certain cells. So if the cancer is, there are particular, when they run some tests and they realize that there are certain particular cells that are triggering these things, they give you immunotherapy. If they have immune responses to it, they'll give it to you to target those immune responses and shut them down. So that's immunotherapy. And then supportive. When you get to this supportive stage, that means that you are one step away. So what the focus of treatment is now to ensure a peaceful death. So how to make your death pain-free and comfortable for you to pass on to meet our Maker is the palliative stage. Okay. Please, next slide. So how do we prevent it? Yes, so we can look at certain things. Like I said, we don't really know the cause, but there are certain things that we can do that can help us. So exercising daily to stay in the safe weight range is important. Breastfeeding, avoid smoking, limit the use of hormonal medications like the contraceptives, limit exposure to pollution, limit alcohol consumption, and then frequently do a mammogram, okay? Aside the breast examination, you should maybe once a year, we say that maybe from 40 years and above, and you do a self-breast examination, everything is fine. You can just do a yearly mammogram, just so to visualize that there is no abnormality growing up in there. And watch out for any changes in your breast examination journey. You have to watch out for changes, okay? And eat healthy foods. So let's limit the fried foods, especially. Like we said, these oils, sometimes the way and the processed foods, sometimes the way they make it, it's very horrible. So let's eat healthy and our healthy meals. Unfortunately, our issues of galamsey are still not over, and we pray that solutions will get solution, because it's one of the things. You see, these mercuries and these cyanide all in our foods. You say that, oh, as for me, I don't eat KFC, I don't eat all that. But you are going to the market and you are buying the same foods that are coming from these galamsey sites that are containing mercury and cyanide. So at this point, we all have to encourage ourselves to have our backyard gardens. That could sometimes be the only way to help us. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we can do to prevent it. So now we move to self-breast examination. Who can come and demonstrate how to examine the breast? We've done this before. We've practically done this before. So anybody who will volunteer, we'll be very grateful. Anyone? Nobody.
Why? Do you want a man to come and do it?
Anybody. Anybody can do this. Then Francisca, please come and take us through it. So, okay. So when you want to have, for the women, when you want to examine your breast, timing is very, very important, okay? So looking at the timing, we encourage that you look 2 to 3 days, okay, after your menses. Can anybody give me reasons why we want you to examine your breast within that time? 2 to 3 days, or extension 4 days after your menses, within that period. You said that is when you are getting to ovulation. Okay, it's not well said. Pastor Avi.
I think in between the hormones are on holidays.
Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for Pastor. Hey, Pastor seems to know the woman, the body of a woman more than ourselves. Yes, because usually during your menses, prior to that, your ovulation, your hormones are all over the place. Especially, like I even said earlier, in your ovulation period, sometimes the breast is heavy, it is very sensitive. If you're examining the breast at that period, you might pick certain normal things as abnormal. But when you have your menses, you realize that all the hormones come down. You know, everything is down. It's going to start picking up again. So within that period when everything is down, that is the true reflection of the breast. So if you examine it and you pick anything that is not usual, you can identify that this is abnormal. Please, I hope we understand. So the timing is very, very important. Okay, so you should examine in front of a mirror. You can do that in the bathroom or after you have taken your bath. You can do that. Now, you will have your hands beside you in this manner. Of course, you've taken away all the support systems, okay? So you visualize the breast with your hands down. What are we looking for? We are looking at the color. We are looking at the texture that we talked about, okay? We are looking at the sizes. As women, we all know that one breast is slightly bigger than the other. However, like I always say, you know your breast. So when you start realizing that one is abnormally bigger, which was not like that some time ago, and you know it is not pregnancy, please, there is a cause for concern. You have to look at it. So these are the things that we are looking at. We are looking at the nipple, whether it is inverted. We are looking at any visible lump, which we mentioned. If you can see anything protruding or any lump form, we have to look at it in the mirror. Then now we place both hands on our waist. Okay, so when you place both hands on your waist, it lifts up the breast a bit. So you also have another view. Certain areas that you couldn't view when your hands were down, you have a better view also when your hands are on your waist. You're also looking out for any abnormalities that we mentioned. Then the third one, we place both hands behind. Okay, so when you do this, it also further lifts. So can we all be upstanding to do this? We all do this together. Like I said, some of this education is not just for us, but it can be for a co-worker, it can be for a friend. Okay. Yes, the males also have breasts, and males can also get breast cancer. I think it's 1% of males can get breast cancer. So please, let's all learn to do it. It's important. Okay, so let's put our hands there. So this way, it also lifts the breast also up again to also visualize all the various areas that we couldn't see when our hands were down, okay? So we are looking at the color, we are looking at the texture, inverted nipple, any discharge that is just coming out, discoloration, or anything that you see that is not normal. You can visualize it, okay? Now, that is the by inspection or by looking. Now we are going to by touching. Okay, by touching. All right, so we'll place one hand, we'll leave one hand and one down. So that means that we are going to be examining this, after which you also change position and do that for the other breast. Okay. So you have to use the part. So you are going to use your 3 or 4 fingers of your palm. We are not using the tip, okay? But we are using this area, okay, to palpate or to check for abnormalities. So that's the part we are using, all right? So we have 3 forms. We are going to do all 3. When you're examining, you can choose whichever method that you want. We can use the top to bottom approach. And then we can also do the circular or the cyclical movement, and then we can do the wedge. So now let's first of all do the circle. I always said that starting, we have the axillary tail of Spence. So when you are starting, you need to first palpate from the armpit. So let's do that. So Francisca is teaching us, we are looking for any lump, any pain that you never had before. Pastor Nitaki, we've not gotten there. Pastor Nitaki has already gotten to the nipple. No, we are at the armpits. Please, we are the, yes. So please, that's where we are, the axilla. All right. So now we are palpating start from the axilla, because I said that we have lymph nodes, okay, and that is there. Now the work of the lymph node is to help identify abnormalities. You know, with children, sometimes when they get some infection, you realize that you see a round ball. It's all over. So it's an indication of an infection or an abnormality. The same way too, we have it in our armpits. So if we are also developing an abnormality in the breast, the lymph node also pops up. So if you do the examination, even if you don't feel the lump and the lymph node is up, it will give you an indication that you need to check. Something might be going on there. So that's why it's important to check from the armpit. So let's go. All right, so we are using this circular motion. We are going round. Pastor Nitaki, round. Circle. All right, so you see, we are going round in that order because we don't want to miss, okay? So that if there is any lump, that some of the lumps, they move. They are not stationary. So if you are doing it and you are leaving gaps, it can hide in one gap and you will never know. So that's why if you are moving cyclical, it's supposed to be contiguous, continuous, so that even if it's moving, you are also trailing it. Eventually, you get it at the middle. Do you get it? But when you are moving and it's not continuous and you do this and then you leave some space and then you move, then it will hide and then you keep going and you will not even identify it. So let's move in that cyclical manner. You do that all the way till you get to the nipple. So just like you see what she's doing, all the way in order to cover the breast area. So you do it round and continuously move. The aim is move gently into the inner circle, which is where the nipple is. So that if it's a movable lump, it will eventually get to the nipple and then you catch it over there. Please, I hope you understand. How have we done so far? Very well. Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll do the other one. So we'll do the up and down. So we'll do the up and down. Also starting from the axillary tail of Spence, up, down. But like I said, contiguous. Don't leave gaps in between because you might miss it. So we are going up, down, up, down, up, down, until you have exhausted the entire area. Okay, all right. Now, when you finish, press the nipple. It's important. Don't leave it out. Press the nipple. Why? Because of discharge. Sometimes the discharge that will come will be blood. Some will look brownish like dirty fluid. Okay, so you need to, if you don't press it, you will not know. Remember the image. that started from the nipple. It started in that form. It will start like a discharge. You will not take it seriously. Then you realize that it will start popping out like cauliflower. Yes. So never forget it. Then the final one is the wedge. So that one, the target is that we'll be moving this way, that way, that way, that way. So we are moving in that order. It's as if we are in the house when you are sweeping. We are gathering at the center. So we are examining towards the nipple so that whatever abnormality will move it to the center. So let's go. Reverend Azo, I'm not seeing it. No, Reverend Azo, I'm doing the cycle. You are still on the cyclical one. We passed that one already. You are doing up and down. We finished with up and down. Now wedge. Yeah. Yeah. So this way, that's it. Well done. You are doing well. Pastor Nitaki, thank you. You are doing very well. Let's put our hands together for Pastor Nitaki. He's doing very well. Okay. So that is it when standing. Okay. But don't forget to look into the mirror and identify the abnormal. That's very, very important. Sometimes if your hands are too dry and it's very difficult, you can, in the bathroom, when you are going to bath, you can do the examination. You can get soap in your arms. It makes it very easy because it becomes very slippery and easy to do. So you can also keep that in mind. Then you can also be lying down to do that. Okay? You can lie down to do that. So you also lie on your back and still do the same thing. Okay? Lift it and either use the cyclical method or use the wedge or use the up and down. It's still the same thing. But always do not forget to start from the axillary tail of Spence. Thank you very much. Please, let's have our seats. So we've come to the end of the presentation, but let's take something home. What are we taking home? Let's always get informed. Let's be informed. When we see anything about breast cancer, let's try and read. Let's get new information. So get informed, get screened, avoid the stigma. It's very common amongst us. We are quick to stigmatize. Avoid the stigma. Support breast cancer patients. I know people who sell, who after getting breast cancer, nobody wants to buy from them again. But they are survivors. So you can imagine the quantum of money they have fought their battles with, and now they don't have money, and they are selling, and people say, now we need mommy way. Mommy way when you have breast cancer, and they do that, and then they break a lot of people down. So let's support them. Let's show support to breast cancer survivors. And then let's support research. There are people, you see this a lot in the developed countries. Those who are the celebrities and those things, some of them, they invest their monies into research. Some of them invest into pediatric cancers. They push in money because it is the research that would help us with solutions like vaccines. I know some of you have started hearing about the cervical cancer vaccines that are ongoing in the schools. Yes, I have a lot of parents calling me about it. So it is the investments of certain people that have brought about all these resources for them to find some of the cure to some of these cancers. Like I said, most cancers do not have cure. Reason being that they don't have a causative organism to them. But some few cancers have causative organisms, like cervical cancer. So that if we know the cause of the cervical cancer, we can find or make vaccines or medications that can attack that organism. But where you don't know the organism that is causing it, what are you fighting? So some of these people have invested millions of dollars into research. And some of these research not only brings information. This information I'm giving to you, I didn't manufacture them. Somebody invested in research and came out with all this information. And today, we are sitting here, we are benefiting from that information. So if you have that opportunity to also invest in research, please, you can do that. Okay? Thank you very much. So let that be our take-home information. Thank you so much for paying attention. And I hope you've learned something today. Please, time for questions. question time.
How often do you check your breast?
Okay. Anybody who wants to answer, it will just give me an idea that somebody really picked it from the presentation. How often do we check the breast? Our ladies, anybody? Oh, nobody. How often should we check? Okay. So, how often do we check? Whoever wants to know. Pastor wants to answer.
Yes, if I were, okay, I won't say if I were woman because a man also, but I believe that women should do it once a month.
Exactly. So once every month. So I said that 2 to 3 days or maximum 4 days after your menses. And you know that the menstrual cycle goes on every month. So every month you should check the breast for any abnormality because you wouldn't know when you pick up any issue. So every month. Thank you. Any question? Pastor, okay.
If I have a daughter and mommy is not around, either by death or something, and she has a very intense breast, and she cannot check it by herself, I mean, what do we do? Because the thing is intense, and the hand or the arm is not able to do that. What do we do? Should I be taking her to the hospital, or should I take her to a church member, or a church member must come to the house once a month to be helping us do it?
So thank you very much for that question. Our doors are always open, okay? So if you walk to any health facility, they can check your breast for you at no fee. Nobody will take anything from you. Every month you can come and it will be done for you. I remember when I had Bella, I think one time I said, I knew I was lactating anyway, but I still said, let me still go ahead and then do the soil breast examination. And then I did, and then I could feel some lumps. Basically, it was because of the lactating ducts. What was there? But typical as health workers we know, but still we'll panic. Then I went all the way to the hospital. I told the midwife that I can feel some lumps in my breast. And she also hurriedly did it. And then she also said, hey, I can also feel it too. And I was like, who is encouraging who and who is even scaring who? I came here for relief, and you also say, hey, I can also feel it. So I went to see the doctor. The doctor said, oh, you are lactating. I said, yes, I know I'm lactating. He said, why are you here? Then I went back home. So, sometimes, even as the fear, it sometimes happens, okay? So when you have a very dense breast and you are not able to do it very well, please walk to any health facility, public health nurse, women health, any of them. Tell them that you want your breast examined. If they tell them you can't do it because you have very dense breast, they'll let you lie down. Especially when you lie down, it makes it a bit better than when you are standing, because when you stand, it becomes a bit difficult. So you lie down, and then they can even take you through it so that you'll be able to do it very well and develop the competence. But I always say practice makes perfect. So when they teach you, you also need to practice so that you get it done very well. Thank you. You have a question? No question. Okay. In the absence of any question, I'll say thank you very much. Oh, okay. Auntie Martha has something to say.
Thank you. So, for those of us who are no more menstruating, how do we also check? Should we have a specific time within the month to do it, or how do we go about it? Two, so that lactative lump, should it be removed? Because I also had that. When they punched it, it was just breast milk, so nothing was done about it. Should it be removed? What it will be?
Okay. Francisca, would you want to pick up the first part, postmenopausal? When do they? Okay, so postmenopausal, because you don't have your hormones being influenced by these things. You don't have. But do you have certain times that you have the sensitivity of the breast in postmenopausal? Sometimes they feel heavy. If you identify that, then if you realize that there are certain times that postmenopausal I have some sensitivity or some heaviness, then know that you are, so maybe you are still having some few hormones just rushing out of the normal. So don't examine it at that time, because at that time it's sensitive. But then there are certain times so that you find it very light and free. It's not sensitive. The nipple is not sensitive. It is loosened up. You don't feel any tension in there. Then that would be the perfect time for you to go ahead and do it. And like I said, for lactating, yes, at that time it's a storing milk. It doesn't have to be punctured. It's because they want to see whether there was anything abnormal, and then they saw that it was a milk. So that is it. It's not supposed to be punctured or supposed to be removed. It is a normal thing. So as for that one, it is normal, yes. But like, remember I said that 40 years and above, it is important to do your yearly mammogram, so that in case of anything, they can quickly identify it and then work on it. Thank you.
What I want to add is that you might not find it here, but lately, teenagers, there was this clip that was going around. SS people have just finished exams, young girls, and they are warning women to keep their husbands because they are coming for them. And there's another one that have implant, family planning implant on their arms because they want to have sex at that age. And these family planning devices would increase your blood pressure at a point. It will cause your hormones to become crazy. It will lead to some form of cancers. And so it's worrying to see young girls their age doing things like that. But the world has come to that point. So your children may not be doing because you are in church, you are training them, but your cousins, your aunties, your nieces, grandchildren in the family, in the community, we need to watch out for these things and talk to them about it, because they are playing with death. They are doing it now. By the time they get to the period where they should be enjoying life, then the cancers come in because they have allowed the influences to be in their bodies already by themselves. And it's a very dangerous thing to do.
So just to chip in what she said, a typical example is the cervical cancers. So for them, it is human papilloma virus. So that one, will say that you find it very common with people who had early menarche. They started their menses very early, but then have late menopause. Why are we saying that? Because then they have a very long period of sexual activity. So if you have a very long period of sexual activity, you probably might have been involved with so many people within that period. And the more sexual partners that you have, the more you're exposed to the human papilloma virus. And that one is the causative organism for cervical cancer. Like I was saying, most cancers do not have causes. Cervical cancer, one of the causes is human papilloma virus. So if you are exposed to this human papilloma virus within your youthful time, then soon you might also develop cervical cancer. And one dangerous thing about cervical cancer is, instead of breast cancer being at the outer area where you can easily identify, cervical cancer is the danger. So yes, I agree with our children, but you never know. Teenage or a young elderly lady in the university sitting beside me, an auntie who brought her to the clinic is right there, but we communicate, and then the auntie doesn't know what is happening. And you have our children, but you never know. Teenage or a young elderly lady in the university sitting beside me, an auntie who brought her to the clinic is right there, but we communicate, and then the auntie doesn't know what is happening. And you have to be open for them to confide and tell you the things that they cannot tell their aunties or their guardian or their parents. So I hear a lot of things. So let's always not be carried away by the fact that we are in church, and so, oh, you think she's not doing anything. Just pray to God, because there's a lot happening. Thank you very much.
Let's do it better.